What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Brand new patch today on the live version of the game. This is going to include most of those changes we saw in the experimental mode, but not all of them. I'll quickly run through that stuff of what did get carried over. Also, this change is going to have an impact on what we have for the meta, and also how Blizzard is going to balance the game from here on. Alright, so let's very quickly run through what those changes are that did get carried over. Baptiste can now attack faster, but he also does a little bit less damage per attack. His healing is the reverse. It's now a little bit slower, but it heals for more. Brigitte got an extra 25 health. McCree also got an extra 25 health, and his reload time got shortened quite a bit from 1.5 down to 1.2. With Mei, she can now restore ammo while in the cryo freeze, and also the ice wall has been reduced from 13 down to 12 seconds. Symmetra got an extra 25 shields, and Widowmaker lost 25 health. The one thing that didn't carry over is the change to Baptiste's ultimate. Instead of being 5 meters wide, it's now 9 meters wide. And Blizzard said in a different post on the official forums that they like the change and they're going to apply it, they just didn't like the artwork. So what they're going to do is an artwork update on Baptiste's ultimate, and then they're going to apply the new 9 meter wide version of it. I think most players probably wouldn't really care. They would just say, give me the ultimate change. The fact that it can do more and have a larger area so that you can do more damage and more healing and all that sort of stuff. It doesn't matter if it's not, perfect for the artwork. You can do that later, but for whatever reason, Blizzard wants to update the art first before they add it to the game. They will be adding it, but it's probably going to take at least a couple weeks before they update all the artwork. So that's the weird situation with. So this patch is going to have a lot of short-term and long-term effects for the game. Short-term is mostly going to be meta shifts, but with the long-term, it's going to change how Blizzard will balance the game from now on. And I do think that we're going to get some pretty big patches probably in a month or so, where Blizzard is going to end up just kind of rebalancing based on what they did with this patch. So the first thing anyways is going to be the short-term, the meta. What can we expect? Right now, we already have kind of a brawly type situation. There's lots and lots of Roadhog being used, lots of Zarya being used. Also, a lot of Hammond is being used as well. In the lower brackets, it tends to be a little bit more towards Reinhardt, but you still have a lot of kind of brawly type comps, and this is still definitely going to be a thing. And I think that it's going to even get better when you have Mei thrown into it. Because if you are running a Roadhog and a Zarya, for example, Mei is kind of like having an extra half a tank. Because you don't have a barrier from these two characters, but you do have the ice wall, which is incredibly good at separating the enemy team, splitting them up, or just blocking lots of damage. And if you have a Mei who is able to block off the enemy grab or the enemy Roadhog hook or something like that, that is incredibly, incredibly powerful. So maybe with these changes, we're going to see a lot more Mei, which will then kind of push it more into that. I don't really know so much about Symmetra. I don't think so. You kind of need to have other stuff in order to work Symmetra, and usually it requires lots of barriers. I don't really think that this is going to change much with her at all. However, McCree, even though he's not really as good as Ashe or Soldier anymore, the fact of the matter is, because he now can attack so quickly, because he has the extra health, he becomes more brawly. So he does kind of fit in that position a little bit better. Although, again, Soldier 76 right now is unbelievably good because of that way that they changed how his attack works. However, because Widow has been nerfed, it's now going to make it much, much easier for a Hammond or a Winston to go after her and take her out. And right now, Widow has a pretty high pick rate, but I think after this change, it's definitely going to drop down. So overall, my guess would be there's probably not going to be a huge change to the meta situation with all of these changes. Instead, it's probably just going to focus a little more specifically on the brawling aspect of it. Now, the long-term stuff, I think, is going to be a lot more interesting, because what Blizzard did with this patch is something that they really haven't done in the 5+ years that the game has been out. They don't like to touch the health of the characters. They like to keep it at 200 for the DPS, and some of the other characters do move up and down, like Orisa got changed a couple of times and stuff like that. But for the most part, they're pretty consistent. They want DPS to have only 200 health. They want supports to only have 200 health, with rare exceptions here and there. But now with this patch, we've seen that they're more willing to make those adjustments. Widow now dropped down to 175. Only 2 characters in the entire game now have less than 200 health. That's going to be Tracer and now Widow. And then we bumped McCree up to 225. Same thing with Symmetra, also got that extra 25. And Brig also got an extra 25 as well, but she was up there further first and then got switched around, and so she's been changed a whole bunch of times. But the fact of the matter is, now it looks like they're willing to change the DPS health, which is huge. So I would not be surprised in the slightest if we see a big pass in maybe a month or so where Blizzard goes through and they start changing the health of a bunch of characters. Do not be surprised if suddenly a whole bunch of DPS no longer have 200 health. They either have 225 or 175 or something like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of the tanks getting different health increments as well. But this is, again, something big that Blizzard really hasn't touched at all for the most part. And now suddenly they are willing to change the health on the characters. But on top of that, another big change is with the reload speed for McCree, because this is another thing that they really haven't tried to touch at all for the 5+ years that the game has been out. Almost every character in the game has a reload speed of 1.5 seconds. There are some exceptions here and there, but for the most part, everybody has 1.5. But now it looks like they're also willing to start changing that stuff. For this patch, it was only McCree, but again, this is a tool that they can use to greatly impact the long-term DPS of a character. It doesn't change the immediate damage, because when you attack with 10 hits or 20 hits before you need to reload, that is still going to consistently do the same amount of damage. But the amount of long-term damage that you can deal over the course of a minute or 2 minutes or something is now going to go up or go down depending on what they change that reload speed to. So these are 2 things that I expect that Blizzard is going to have a pass. Now, maybe not so much with the reload speed. There might only be a couple of characters that end up getting changed, but I can definitely see Blizzard making an attempt to have a big change across the board, changing health of different characters, adding an extra 25 here, minusing 25 there, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing more characters that have less than 200 health and a whole bunch of them that get bumped up to 225. So let me ask you guys, if we see a bunch of health changes for the characters, who do you think are most likely going to get some of these changes? And is it going to be plus 25 health or minus 25? Like, what do you think is going to end up being changed? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to be comment of the video, then leave yours, and while you're at it, ring the bell so you never miss a new video. Also, if you want to get some cool gear, join my Discord server, or follow me on social media, then check out the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.